Okay, so this is We Are Starfleet, a Star Trek podcast, and it is a bit of a melancholy one, I suppose. Depends on how this conversation goes. Ashley Thomas, Craig McKenzie, Ian Buckley, and myself, Mike Slamer, are here in the virtual podcasting studio to finally discuss Star Trek Discovery, Season 5, Episode 10, the series finale for this show. Um, we just watched it. How's everyone feeling?
Fine.
I have
Fine.
feels.
Yeah. It
Yeah.
is bittersweet whenever you have
Mm.
to say goodbye to a Star Trek series. Um, I mean, I remember back when like Enterprise ended, I had never even watched an episode at that point, but I was still like, oh, that's too bad. you know?
And
So at a baseline level, just as a Star Trek fan, like that's never you never like to see that
and then if
necessarily.
you watch the final episode of Enterprise, it will kill any notion of
Oh yeah.
you feel
The only
upset that it's
emotion you
gone.
feel at the end of Enterprise is rage.
I think we can all safely say we don't treat that as the finale. That episode doesn't exist.
Well,
I
my
was
hot take is that this is better than These Are the Voyages.
Yes, not the worst series finale, that's for sure.
Mm.
Hey, Ian, not the worst series finale.
Yeah,
No, the,
Gonna quote you on that.
Enterprise has set the bar low for the
Woo.
rest of Star Trek history.
no.
Oh my!
Unless you count Demons or whatever it's called. Terra Prime. Terra Prime is the episode.
That's what I
As the
count it
actual
as.
finale.
Yeah.
Mm.
So yeah, Mike, how about
Ashley?
you? I don't think you answered that.
Yeah, bittersweet. I finished watching and had to step away. I had some feels, definitely. Like you said, it's tough to say goodbye. We have been podcasting about this show for the entirety of it, 5 seasons worth of TV. Not all of us together, might I add. There have been Ian, you and I did a lot of solo episodes, and then Craig, you joined us. Ashley, you joined us first as guests, and then you guys became co-hosts. So that's pretty exciting. The show brought us together, and I think if that's one thing that Discovery did really well is it brought people together. For positive results and reasons, in my opinion.
Just don't listen to the internet. They're wrong.
Oh, what the internet say now? Never mind. I know what they said. Stand them, damn internet.
But yet another way in which this show united people, whether you liked it or you didn't, it certainly united people.
Ashley, you were about to say.
I watched this morning. I held it together until the end. Not quite the end. And then I was like, oh, there it is. Now I'm going to cry. And I did. So,
I started the waterworks when we had Detmer and Oo make their only appearance in the episode.
I
Practically
started
this season.
slightly after that. So,
Yeah, there were a couple of sections where I found it quite affecting, and it has that cumulative effect of yes, all of the episodes, for all the show's ups and downs, it has this effect of, oh yeah, like we're saying goodbye. This chapter is closing on these people, these stories. Like maybe we'll see one or two of them again in future iterations, and like the Starfleet Academy show, since we know it's taking place in this era. We know that Tilly, for example, is a sets a record for being the longest serving professor at Starfleet Academy. I think it is sad to say, good farewell to the crew, and the show couldn't help but be affecting for that reason, I think.
Craig, we haven't heard from you yet.
So I didn't quite have the same emotional connection to this finale as you guys clearly have. I've also had longer to sit with it. I watched it a while ago, and I haven't quite finished my review yet, but I'm mostly there. So yeah, I don't know. I don't think I connected with this show in the way that I did other Star Trek shows, but I wonder if that's just a commentary on my connection to just the media I watch in general. It's very rare for me to get so deeply invested in something that I'm watching.
Hmm.
I liked
No.
parts of this. I think it made some really dumb decisions as well, which I'm sure we'll get into. And you could see the seams where it was retrofitted to become a finale. It's almost like you watch the final episode of season 5 and then there's a 20-odd minute epilogue that's tacked on at the end. You could almost tack that epilogue on at the end of any season and have it work. Well, any season after they get to the 32nd century, anyway.
That's an
Yeah.
interesting point.
I mean, I think I do think my overall feeling and opinion is similar to yours, Craig, with this one, but there were one or two moments when, I think the weight of saying goodbye to the show, the characters, struck me in ways that I think the show was intending. Like I think it wasn't just me and my feelings. I do think that they tried for and in a couple of occasions, like really succeeded in carrying through that sort of emotional through line for me. But yeah, mixed feelings. I think overall as an episode, and like you said, I think you can tell where they stitched in, and we'll get into how we feel about all that, the series finale elements of it. And it's unfortunate because you can watch it and you can tell that this was not intended to be the last episode of the series. For much
Yeah.
of the episode, it really doesn't feel like that.
Yeah. And to be fair, if you watch All Good Things, that doesn't feel like it's the ultimate end of Next Generation, does it? You could go into season 8 after that, and in fact, you just go into the movies after that. Although in some ways that's the perfect ending for a show like that because the adventures will continue. You just won't see them
Yeah, I
unless you
disagree.
go and watch the film in the summer.
I think All Good Things functions perfectly as a series finale. I mean, I think it's a really strong series wrap up.
Yeah, it is, but it also wouldn't have to necessarily be the final episode. If they decided to continue after that, they could have. It's just a weird possible future time travel story type thing.
Yeah. I think, although I'm not 100% clear on the production history, I'm pretty sure when they wrote and produced that, they knew that it was not going into season 8, but rather going into Generations production wise, whereas this was originally conceived and produced as only the season finale, and you can really, I think you can really feel the difference.
Yeah, well, All Good Things and Generations, that were doing filming for both of them at the same time, I think. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty clear the direction they were headed.
I think for what we got with this season and series finale for Discovery, I think considering production was already done on season 5 when they decided to cancel the show, and then they got to go back and film this epilogue. I think all things considered, they did a good job with what they were given, because it wasn't plan A. I feel satisfied with this ending, even with the knowledge that this was not what it was originally intended to be. I think all things considered, they did a good job wrapping the series, and uh, I'm eager to see what becomes of those who are going to make an appearance in the Starfleet Academy series. So
Yeah, it certainly doesn't make the mistake of leaving us on any sort of cliffhanger or having like
Yeah.
major plot threads left dangling
mhm.
without resolution. Like they just, it is an example of where it's an advantage that the seasons are constructed around these self-contained season-long arcs where there isn't the sort of, you know, broadcast era pressure to leave them on a cliffhanger and like wait all summer long for the resolution of that. There's none of that lack of resolution here. Like you said, it felt complete.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I agree with all of your statements. I think that it really coming back and filming as an epilogue, I liked it. I thought it was kind of a nice way to segue from we wrapped up the big season long threat, the big season long mystery, we resolved it, and now we're going to close out on our personal character stories. I think that really worked for me, and I think it's going to work for a lot of viewers, to be honest with you, because it does leave you feeling relatively satisfied by the end of it because they knew that they were coming back to do the finale. They knew they had to bring it. They knew they had to say, okay, what are our characters going to be walking into for the rest of their lives? And I thought that the time skip, for example, I thought that some of the new character we meet in that is pretty interesting too. We'll get into that later. So yeah, it was good as a finale for me. And Ian, last week you and I were talking about this. Um, I think I actually liked the episode and was satisfied.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, look, they even in the epilogue went to the trouble to resolve that one last dangling short trek thread that fans were still were all saying like, well, I guess they're never going back to resolve this. They literally like went out of their way to go back and resolve it.
Yeah, I've got thoughts on that, so
Yeah, I mean,
stand by.
I do too.
I
Let's
can't
be
wait to hear
honest,
him.
but in order to illustrate the sense that they clearly had of, okay, we got to go back and wrap everything up and not leave any dangling threads. Like they really did feel that, as a necessity, clearly.
Yeah, there was a general sense of just driving by all the stuff that was left dangling and just resolving it. And in
Hmm.
some cases, it was that it? Okay, moving on, and it would move on to the next one. It's like a checklist of lingering plot threads.
Well, at least they gave it a shot with a checklist.
Yeah, in some cases, I'm okay with maybe not resolving this, especially some of the stuff that wasn't all that well developed to begin with. Like a quick reference to Stamets' legacy to make it feel like you're tying that up. It's like, yeah, you're
Oh
not
yeah.
really tying
Yeah,
anything up here.
you haven't mentioned his anxiety about his legacy since episode 2.
Yeah,
Don't try it now.
you're not getting away with it now.
Yeah. This was not an arc for him. I'm
No.
sorry. No, no, sir.
In fact, if you just not mentioned it, I would have probably forgot. It's fine.
Episode 510, Life Itself. Folks, you're listening to Starfleet. We are Starfleet. We are at Starfleet Pod on all the social medias. Let's jump into this episode. We've already been talking about our overall thoughts on it. Life Itself, written by Kyle Jarrow and Michelle Paradise, directed by Olatunde Osunsanmi. Please correct me if I mispronounce any names. Trapped inside a mysterious alien portal that defies familiar rules of time, space, and gravity, Captain Burnham must fight Mull and the environment itself in order to locate the progenitor's technology and secure it for the Federation. Meanwhile, Book puts himself in harm's way to help Burnham survive, and Rayner leads the USS Discovery in an epic winner-takes-all battle against Breen forces. That is the log line that Paramount Plus provided to us along with the screeners. And just reading the log line, it feels very stereotypical Discovery season finale. I will say that my favorite part is Commander Rayner taking the reins on the battlefield, if you will. And there's an absolutely brilliant resolution to that fight that we'll talk about later. But overall, like I said, I liked it. I felt satisfied. It was a good season finale, not necessarily series. I'm just talking about the episode construct in and of itself. But it's another mystery box, Craig. It's another mystery box. And
Yep.
Discovery just cannot stop with the mystery boxes. As a matter of fact, I think season 1 was the only one that kind of wasn't a mystery box.
Oh, but it had lots of mysteries in season 1. Is Tyler a secret Klingon? Yes, he is. Is Lorca from the Mirror Universe? Yes, he is. So they had they had a Russian doll of mystery boxes in season 1.
I mean, I don't think either of those things were set up as overt mystery boxes in the way that we've had the Red Angel thing going on in
Yeah.
season 2, and the way we clearly had this quest, as the through line plot wise for season 5. I mean, this was they decided to turn this into, kind of a Star Trek does Indiana Jones show at times. I mean, in terms of tracking down these artifacts and clues and, trying to stay one step ahead of the people who are chasing you down. I mean, it clearly plays with that kind of genre exercise. And, I think that for me, ironically, I think my favorite episodes in this season were the ones that weren't narrowly focused on a particular clue. That broadened the scope to explore other themes. The episode Whistle Speak, like, yes, there was a clue, but that episode was really, really not focused on like solving some sort of like puzzle and more on like exploring this moral quandary, which is something that I think Star Trek is at its best when it does.
Yeah, it was a Prime Directive episode,
Right.
and it turns out that the solution to the clue was we just need to translate the numbers on the wall. I've
Right.
said it all season. The puzzles weren't clever enough.
No, they
Anybody
were
could
not.
solve them.
They were a little on the simple side, I'd say.
Yeah, yeah. You don't have to be worthy to solve these puzzles. You just have to be somewhat intelligent.
Or just like track whoever is solving them like Maul and Locke did. I mean,
Yeah.
that's sort of the failure of the folks who set this breadcrumb trail up to anticipate something like that feels like an oversight.
Yeah.
Ashley, I see you thinking a lot.
I'm thinking about the way that we see Maul and Burnham interact in this portal space
Yeah.
with trying to solve the puzzle. They finally are able to strike a truce, and we see Maul be like, "Oh, let's make a triangle," and that made sense, but obviously that wasn't it. It was about the negative space, and I think like the way that was set up and that imagery to me symbolized, okay, you've got this negative space, makes a triangle in the middle, and all of these other triangles are pointing outwards. Uh, to me, that felt like the progenitors are the negative space. All of the races that the progenitors created are all pointing outward and going out from them. I thought that was really fascinating. I think the thing that surprised me in this episode is that the progenitors are like, no, we didn't create this tech, we found it.
Yes.
That was what I didn't expect, and
That was a
really enjoyed that.
that was a big reveal. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm glad they did that. It preserved the mystery to some degree. It felt a bit Mass Effect to me, actually, this whole idea of a cosmic cycle that keeps repeating.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah. It reminded me too of, I don't know if any of you have read the sci-fi of Alastair Reynolds, but some of his novels deal with these like massive ancient alien technologies that are like barely understood, including by the people who are currently using them and taking it, using them to the best of their limited understanding because they who discovered these things that were already there, like only understand so much themselves. And yeah, playing, like, I love playing with these like big ideas of like, yeah, like even these progenitors who we have ascribed so much like power and sophistication to, even they were only stumbling upon the like, you know the machinations of some even more advanced ancient race that's now gone or transcended or whatever. But I love it when we play with these like big ideas, and that was something that surprised me as well. I thought that was a more interesting turn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really when the progenitors revealed that particular sentiment and then the progenitor said, "We use this and we chose to make life. You have seen what it is capable of. Now it is up to you to decide how to use this technology." I thought that was really great. And Craig, preserving the mystery is great because it leaves us something to talk about. It leaves us something to think about. And, Discovery has gone to great lengths to explain things to us, to try and like find an answer, to try and like build some sort of foundation to a heavy science fiction idea. But part of the greatness of science fiction is just it gets you thinking. And this is something that I think Discovery did a really good job of leaving that mystery open and saying, we do not understand it. We aren't even going to try to understand it. We're not even going to try to visualize it. We're just going to push it to the side and let all this technology go to the black hole.
Yeah, and I liked that the motivation for them using it in the way that they did was they were a lonely species in an empty universe, and they wanted to create a diverse universe, and they did. And then Burnham's interpretation of it was, well, the progenitors have achieved what they set out to do. The universe is full of diversity, so we don't need to use this technology for anything. It has no purpose now.
Also, just aesthetically speaking, I really appreciate that the progenitor that met with Michael didn't look like Salome Jens. That was I do not know how to say her name correctly. Sonkele Ima Idhalama. She was in Station 11, which I just started watching not that long ago. She played Gwen in Station 11. She was in Titans. Um, Nigerian actress. She's really good in Station 11. If you guys have watched that,
Does a good job of updating the appearance of, because when you see the old sort of like archive image of like Salome Jens, you're like, oh right, they do just kind of look like changeling adjacent. Like we really do want to make that more visually distinct. So let's cast a woman of color. Let's adjust the makeup a little bit so that it looks and feels like a little bit more modern and has a more distinct look, that it doesn't just look kind of changeling-y. I liked all those decisions that they made as far as the casting and performance and the writing of the progenitor.
One thing I was wondering about is, because obviously they put in place a training hologram. Was there a training hologram that they used when they found it?
It does raise some questions, like, did they just like fuss around with this thing? did they make some horrible mistakes
Yeah.
before they created all the
They
life
pressed
in
the
the
wrong
universe?
button and destroyed a galaxy. Whoops! Let's not do that again.
Yeah. It does raise the same like age old sort of Star Trek joke of like, we don't need to create more diversity in the universe. We're already so diverse. If you mean every alien species is vaguely humanoid, then yes, we have so much diversity.
well, the thing that I thought was really interesting is, we've talked about this season basically being a quest for God, and look at the Bible, and human beings are made in the image of God. If Maul had met this progenitor hologram, would the progenitor hologram have looked like her? Like, is this Michael seeing her own image in the image of God, recognizing the Imago Dei? I thought that idea is really interesting. We don't have a clear answer here,
Yeah.
but I kind of like the idea of if the progenitors made all of these races in their own image, then it would make sense that whoever got to come into the progenitor tech, work through all the clues, make their way there, would they have met someone who looked like themselves in some way?
Maybe.
Ashley, I love that idea. Like you got me thinking about a lot of like 1,000 different things, and every synapse is like blowing at once. So that's really cool. But you're absolutely right. This season was a quest for God. What does God need with a starship is the real question. Burnham arriving into it through that portal. What did you guys think of this set that they dressed through? That this AR wall.
I thought it was visually interesting, and I think they used it quite well for the action in terms of the environment playing into it and in different ways. I know that I've talked about a lot how most of the season was solving clues, and I do wonder if we could have explored this space a bit more in an episode by itself, as in maybe it takes an entire episode of exploring it until they find the interface, even, because there was very much I have no idea where I'm going. Nothing makes sense in here. And it's, oh, here it is. I've just noticed the shadow behind this light fixture or whatever.
Yeah. We had a similar feeling last season where it was like you spent all season getting to this incredible place, this incredible space with this wildly different alien species. Like, give us give us another episode that like give us a minute. Like
Yeah.
let us actually explore and
Yeah.
experience the wonder and the awe that our characters are experiencing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does feel like, especially with how many of these different worlds there were, like you could have had a fun, episode long exploration, or like Michael and Maul's conflict like takes them into these different spaces and they have to work together to build trust, et cetera, storytelling stuff.
Yeah. I like the tenuous truce though, and I like it was the classic. It lasts exactly as long as it needs to. As soon as Maul sees an opportunity, she
Yep.
turns on Burnham. That's
Oh,
it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've gotten everything out of this that I need to get out of this, so I'm going to knock you out now. You've taken me to where I need to go.
I mean, the thing I don't like about it is it's like so predictable that you're like, Michael, how are you not ready for that? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
Michael, come on.
Yeah.
Come
Don't you
on.
have a personal force field in that arm?
Right. What
that you-
what are we doing? Why are you turning your back on this person?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, as soon as she's like, "Oh, Book's talking to me," I'm very distracted now because, David Ajala is really hot, so obviously he's talking to me. I'm going to be very distracted. But yes, as soon as she got distracted and looked away from Maul, I was like, "Oh, girl, you're gonna get smacked in the head."
And like she didn't just look away from Maul; she looked in like the complete opposite direction.
I'm gonna
far
turn
away.
my back on you, walk away a little bit.
This person I
Mhm.
clearly can't trust. Yeah.
Mhm.
The fight between Michael and Maul as they were going through it, I felt like they did something visually because a lot of those fight sequences happened, on the Gale Force Wind planet with the Breen, and then we're falling into a volcano world. It seemed as though all the worlds that they visited and that we saw through those gateways were kind of in their primordial phases, which I thought was interesting. And
Well, they
then
didn't explain that it was necessarily planet hopping. It was suggested they might just be kind of labs.
Could be.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
the interesting part that I enjoyed was Michael and Mole going through it as they were fighting. And then once they decided to stop fighting, then all of a sudden everything seemed to settle. And now we're in a field of flowers. It's still orange. The AR wall is still all set to orange. And it's not until Michael actually solves the puzzle that it turns to blue.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of that tension being built in, and I just it felt good. It felt like it was driving somewhere, and then once the color changed, I knew that was it for the episode. I was like, oh,
Hmm.
okay, we solved it. We're good to go. We're gonna move on with the rest of the story. Maul is no longer a factor, which kind of bummed me out a little bit because Maul and Locke, I think, had a really great dynamic between them, and Locke brought a lot. Elias to Fexus. They had really great chemistry together. And I was pretty bummed when it was confirmed, like, oh, we can reanimate the body, but it would be a genetical, well, not really. They would just clone the body, I suppose, and it wouldn't really have any of the memories or the essence or anything like that. I thought it was kind of a bummer. I was kind of hoping that Maul would get her happy ending too.
Mm.
Although I did
Yeah.
like that because it brought in the whole faith aspect of it, the concept of the soul. We can recreate the body, but not the soul. That's gone.
Right, like the
Unless you're a
essence of
Vulcan.
what makes a person a person. Right. It is strange, the whole like it's funny that never even gets brought up, like like we know that there exists in the text of Star Trek this concept of like a literal like body essence that can be transferred
Yeah.
from one mind to another, from one body to another. But yeah, I was a little surprised that knowing that, within the Trek universe, that they just kind of shrug and go, "Yep, nothing we can do."
Well, I guess they could have moved Locke's consciousness into an android like they do all the time with other people.
Right, another example of like, but okay, I guess we can transfer consciousness. Whatever, fine.
Yeah.
It
You'd have
it
to do that
served.
before he died, though.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
we're
Yeah,
fresh out of androids right now. Sorry.
yeah. If
A
only
little
we
little more
had some incredible technology that could create new life at hand. Oh wait, here it is.
Everything that happened inside that portal seemed to be like separate from the rest of the action that was happening around the black holes. The progenitor very conveniently paused time inside that virtual interface thing that Michael is in. So in real time, the fight is happening. It's all occurring. But in Michael's mind, she's experiencing all of this instantaneously. So pretty interesting, and just a sci-fi trope, I guess, that has been very commonplace nowadays, where someone goes into a virtual space and they come out and it's the exact same time that they went into it. I don't I don't really like that trope too much. But
Well, there was
anyway,
definite progression because she talks about the battle raging outside and stuff, and they do
It seems to
intercut
be
between her
flowing
sequence and then
differently.
yeah.
yeah.
It's mentioned that time is flowing differently, but I don't think they quite established how differently it was
Yeah.
flowing.
Yeah, it's left a
We
little
were
vague.
not given an equation to calculate how
Uh,
time was flowing in the room with the progenitor technology versus outside of that. So
yeah. Every minute in here is equal to about a minute outside of here.
Hey, that works.
Yeah.
But I do like all the fighting that's going on with the Breen Dreadnought and the fighters. Let's talk about Commander Rayner taking the Discovery for its final combat sequence here.
Finally, they give the guy something to do. It took 8 episodes, but finally, the guy has something to do. You had that weird thing last week where they suggested there's an arc around him not sitting in the chair. No one noticed before that point, so it doesn't really mean anything. But I thought he did brilliantly in command here. He was, he knew what he was doing, and the crew just listened to him as well. And he even acknowledges that by saying thanks for the trust and solving the problem by making a merciful decision despite his history with the Breen. That was a really nice touch. I didn't need him to say that's more than they gave my family or whatever. So yeah, I get it. You're showing mercy.
Right, like you drove the point home in previous episodes. Like,
Yeah.
that was some of the organic character building we like to see, and it paid off. Yeah, I thought Rayner was pretty great.
I would have liked him to have an actual confrontation with Tahal specifically because he has the history with her. So it would have been
left angling. Yeah.
It did seem like we were being set up for that at some point.
So it could have been,
and
well, enjoy your trip back from the galactic barrier. Bye.
Right.
And then sends her off. But we didn't.
I mean, I think that there was some confirmation in a recent interview that like they did have plans for this character beyond this season. So it's possible that was something they anticipated picking up in season 6.
Maybe, yeah. But I thought it was a great showcase for him in command, and
yeah,
I wish we'd seen more of it before.
Yeah, I did think we have to split the saucer section. I was like, oh, we're splitting the saucer section.
And the nacelles,
do
like,
that
the
now,
whole,
apparently.
I mean, the whole upgrade to the A was like everything is now separated, like all the other, modern Starfleet ships, and we actually see the practical application of that finally.
You guys are bigger ship heads than me. I just thought it's like, oh, okay, we're doing something a little different here. That's kind of nice.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that. And it visually, I thought it looked really cool to watch. Like, here's this big Breen dreadnought doing a kickflip. I was like, oh, get out of here. So yeah, I enjoyed that. I thought that was really cool. I like the route we took to get there. Can we do that? No. Well, wait a minute. Which is how my brain works too, because my knee jerk is like, no, that can wait. Maybe we can. I enjoyed that. I thought that was realistic and kind of fun.
Yeah.
I laughed at the tease of the plasma string or whatever it was, because as soon as they mentioned it, I was thinking someone's going to use that to blow something up.
Yeah, it almost took a little too long for someone to suggest it. I was because as soon as they say it, I'm like, oh, use that to blow up the fighters, and then it felt like it took like 10 minutes for these professionals to come up with that idea.
No, we're always using stuff like this to help us in combat.
Yeah,
there's always a convenient explosion that we can use.
Love it. There's enough gas floating out there. It's fine. We can blow it up. Yeah, it's good.
It was nice to see the Discovery like properly outmatched and on the run, as opposed to always just standing its ground and like getting away at the last second. Being on the run, I thought was really good, and Commander Rayner being in that position, I'm sure was like absolutely hell on water for him. but it really worked to drive the action and the intensity for this finale. I think a lot of us are all pretty tired of seeing like two big fleets of ships meet in space before the actual battle, you know. So this was good. This was good.
Yeah. It seems to
And
be where Rayner thrives, though, under that kind
yeah,
of pressure, because it was previously mentioned that, yeah, we're operating on pre-burn tech here or whatever out in the fringes. So it seems like he was always improvising. He was always figuring out how to defeat more advanced or capable opponents.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it's really great that, you know, he had the final, you know, the final idea there, the solution to jump the Breen ship out. You know, I thought that really spoke to his acumen, his scientific acumen, as well as his command doctrine,
Mhm.
getting to know all the crew members and what they do. I thought it was just really well done. And man, I genuinely do wish we had Commander Rayner previously, knowing that we're not going to have any more Discovery.
Yeah. In the previous episodes, he should have been doing more than just standing around waiting for Burnham to get back,
Oh,
which is all he
he
did.
was given lots of real, like, you know, ice cold looks around the room though.
And apparently he would refuse to sit on the chair. That's a thing that was people were noticing, apparently.
I remember us noticing it week after week.
Oh, definitely, definitely. One shout out here. They definitely used bridge sound effects from the Kelvin verse.
Yep.
So that's cool. Always love picking up on that. Booker gets to have his own little action sequence where he takes the shuttle. I was surprised that Colbert joined him. How did you guys feel about this?
I wasn't surprised because they needed to find some way for him to deal with his emotional arc, and this was the way to do it. And I thought that was actually one of the most satisfying things in the episode, where Culber realized it's okay to not have all the answers. I understand now. I'm now a man of faith. I understand that science can't answer every question for me, and that's good. So I like that. I thought it was a nice ending to that.
Yeah, it did take me by surprise at first, and then I was like, well, actually, no, this makes sense. This makes sense. This is him stepping out on a limb. This is him doing something that he, under different circumstances, may not have chosen to do, or, you know, before his experience on Trill, probably wouldn't have chosen to do. And yet here he goes. Here he goes. And I thought that worked really well. He just had like had a feeling like, no, I need to go do this. I need to go do this. And that was a it was he followed that hunch to succession. So
Yeah.
good job.
And it turns out if he
Yeah.
wasn't there, they would have failed. Is
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Specifically him, no one else.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that I like the journey for him. I like the like theme that they're hitting with him. I have, you know, I have some specific nitpicks with the way that he in particular has gone about this journey. Like, you know, Ashley, I think you and I talked about this in Whistle Speak, where it seemed like he was not taking into account things that like seem like fairly straightforward or like obvious on a journey of like spiritual self-discovery, or even as a man of science, or a man who's served time as a counselor, the fact that he's like there's no other explanation for why this piece of information could have been in my mind and come to mind at just the right time, as if he's never heard of like a subconscious. You know, like that's surprising to me. I feel like they could have probably made you know, a little bit of a different choice there. Or, you know, when he says like, yeah, no, like there's no way that memory could have transferred. It's like, well, I mean, you could have just been wrong. This was a novel experience for you. Like nobody had, like there was no record of this. Like you could have just been wrong and did experience a memory transfer, and this is the evidence of that. The fact that like he's such an obviously intelligent, thoughtful person, but never seems to have these like basic things kind of occur to him on this journey are, I think, what hold me back a little bit from like fully embracing it, because I do feel like they want to hit these like really good thematic points, but sometimes the specifics of how they get there, I stumble on a little bit.
I think
Because
that's
because I feel like if I'm a lay person and I'm asking these questions, then like someone as experienced as him should be as well.
I think that's a tendency on the writer's part to over-explain things.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Someone who like is on his own journey with faith and spirituality. I too was slightly, I won't say let down or disappointed, but I definitely think that they could have gone a little bit more clear with Culber's personal journey, and I think they could have done a little bit more to really kind of specify what journey he was on, because throughout most of the season, other than just the high level knowledge that Culber is on this journey for himself, there didn't really seem to be too much specificity of how he was going about it. And other than having a weekly hologram session or daily hologram session with his grandmother, it didn't really strike me as one that he was too serious about either until it suddenly came to be. Um,
Yeah,
and
I would have liked to see some of this addressed like over the last couple of episodes leading up
yeah,
to it, where like we get like just not necessarily like a lot of focus on it, but just like, hey, we're checking in with this character. He's still on his journey.
yeah,
He's still processing these things. Similar to like the Stamets thing, which to Craig's point didn't really work, where they bring up this notion of Stamets struggling with his legacy in the first two episodes of the season, and then they reduce the resolution of that to some sort of offhand remark in the midst of an argument in this final episode. And I feel like that's a much less successful example of the kind of thing they're trying to do with Culber in this season, where they have him actually experience an arc and grow, and it touches on these themes that like Star Trek has been really successful in exploring in the past.
yeah.
So yeah, I have mixed feelings about it, even though I like what they're doing or what they're trying to do overall with Culber this season.
It
And
worked for me in the sense that Book was the person to be there to have when he vocalized that
Yeah,
revelation he
mhm.
had, which may seem like an obvious thing about okay, I can now understand that I don't need to know the answer to every question, but that in itself can be profound if you're used to using science to figure everything out. It's the idea of, well, maybe there's just some things I just can't figure out, and I have to be okay with that. And I remember that scene earlier in the season that he shared with Book, where Book said to him about I can't share this with Paul, and he says, well, you don't have to. Some things can just be for you. There's no problem there. You don't have to share everything with your partner. And I liked that as a perspective because as simple as it might be, it's also easy for it to not occur to people. I've got
Mhm.
friends who are in couples and they can't do anything apart. They're in each other's pockets all the time. And if that were me, I would be exhausted by that because I need my solitude. I need things that are for me.
and I think that point works very well. I think what I sometimes stumble over are when, you know, he is struggling with this idea of science can't explain everything, but the specific examples that he's struggling with are all things that do have scientific explanations, and that's where I think I struggle is that they're not presenting him with conflicts so far in this journey, and unfortunately we won't get to see it continue that are outside of the realm of scientific explanation, and I'd like to see him actually grapple with some of that. Like if they're going to do that.
Hmm.
And I have to wonder too how much of this might have been saved to process and think over for the next season that they were originally supposed to get.
Yeah.
And because we don't have that now, okay, well, we have to wrap this up in a different way. Same with Stamets' legacy thing, because that was something that's mentioned early in the season, and
Yeah.
then kind of gets, unfortunately, a little bit hand waved at
Way
the end.
underdeveloped. If they were going to
Yeah.
do anything with it, they needed,
Yeah.
again, if they wanted to explore that theme, they needed to actually commit to exploring it and not
Hmm.
just pay lip service, which would it's
Yeah.
especially with Stamets, it felt like it was just some lip
Oh yeah.
service. Like
Hmm.
we got to give his character something this season emotionally to deal with, have it be this. And it felt like Stamets really got the short end of the stick in terms of development this season.
Although historically they
The
don't seem
most
to carry
important.
arcs between seasons very often. Remember at the end of season 3 where Stamets was resentful of Burnham for putting him off the ship because he's the spore drive guy. And
Yep.
then in season 4 they were fine.
Yep.
There was no resentment there whatsoever.
That's true. Some of that stuff has been, indicative of this season's, or sorry, this series' approach to serialization when it comes to character. But yeah, I think within this season itself, what they gave Stamets was just not sufficient. Like
Yeah.
I wish they hadn't introduced that in the first couple of episodes. Like I would be less annoyed.
The
Yeah.
frustrating part is that the answer is right there in front of them the entire time. They've essentially Colbert and Stamets essentially adopted Adira
Right.
as their mentee, if you will. And Discovery has put a lot of emphasis on found family and this crew staying together. So for Colbert to go on this spiritual journey and for Stamets to be so concerned with his legacy, both of those stories easily line up to the resolution of Adira being right there. And they want to be there. Adira is the one who consoles Stamets at the very end. But Stamets can't look at them and say, it's okay. This is my legacy. This family is my legacy.
Mm.
It
Yeah.
was so frustrating
Yeah.
to watch all of this and see that and see Adira there with all of their with all of their like, I'm here for you, Papa, I
Mm-hmm.
got you,
Mm-hmm.
and Stamets doesn't reach out in that way. It almost felt like they just forgot who Adira is in
Yeah.
relation to them.
Well, Adira was dealing with their inconsistent confidence issues across the season, something that they hadn't ever seemed to suffer from before this season.
I'd have to go back and rewatch season 4 as far as the development of their confidence in their role. Like I I didn't really have I thought Adira's journey in this season was fairly straightforward and worked for me, but I completely agree with the point you were making, Mike, about yeah, Stamets is presented with this very obvious sort of answer to what is my legacy of like the family you're building, the connections you've made. Pick any of it, dude. It's all pretty good to me. Yeah, it is his journey this season was a source of frustration for me, obviously. But I think that I think that Adira's worked pretty well overall, and yeah, I think that the idea of this is a character who went from not being a member of Starfleet to being kind of adopted into the Starfleet family to like finally having some responsibilities on the ship to finally getting onto the bridge and being a little nervous at first and then having opportunities to succeed and to shine. I mean, for me, that all tracked pretty well.
No, I also felt a little frustrated that I was fully expecting Stamets to be like, no, it's okay. I got my legacy right here. Pat Sadira on the back. Let's walk off the scene. And no, and that didn't happen. I was like, come on, Space Dad.
Yeah. And honestly, the thing that I feel like I just realized I've been missing is like those domestic scenes that we saw between Stamets and Culber in seasons 1 and 2, which
Yep.
I thought were so lovely and effective, and not only good showcases for the two of them as actors, but I thought it was like realistic relationship building in a way that we haven't gotten to see in a lot of previous Star Trek series. Like we've had members of the cast, you know, start relationships during the course of the season, but like, they were already in a domestic partnership before the series begins, and we get to see inside that. And it's ironic that as we're exploring these characters more in these latter seasons, or at least making indications towards wanting to explore them more, that we've lost those types of scenes.
Hmm. And I think they could have done more with the whole Paul won't understand what I'm going through thing by actually just having him not understand, because that would have
Right. Show
been an
us that.
interesting bit of conflict. If
Right.
because it was after the whole brain scan thing, Stamets was like, "Well, I don't get it, but just enjoy it. It sounds good." It could have been a bit more. I don't understand what you mean. The scans are fine.
Right. Yeah.
You shouldn't be feeling
He
this
didn't
way.
seem that
Yeah,
yeah, he didn't seem to lack the understanding that Culber was presenting him as lacking.
yeah.
He actually seemed to kind of dismiss what Colbert was going through. I don't think that's how it was intended, but when someone says like, "Oh, just, you look fine. Just enjoy it. Just have fun," it's just like you're kind of dismissing the importance that the subject is placing on this one piece of their lives, and it's so important that they do that they understand that, and they're looking for support, they're looking for the help, they're looking for the reassurance that what they're experiencing is okay and that you have their back no matter what.
But
And
all of that is internal to Culber when he's going through it. He doesn't say any of that to
right.
Stamets. He says it to Book, who
Yeah.
isn't his partner, instead, and just says, yeah, he wouldn't understand. Well, like, show us the scene. Like, to Greg's point, show us the scene of
Yeah.
Stamets, like, actually not understanding. Because it's different than, like, the scene where he says, like, there's nothing wrong with your brain, is because Culber's only asking him about, is there something physically wrong with me? He's not telling Stamets what he's going through.
Mm.
And then he does after, but Stamets doesn't really respond in much of a way. You know,
Yeah.
it
But
would have
he's so
given the
but he's so
Yeah.
vague about it. That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. He's so vague.
Yeah.
He's vague about it until he opens up to Book, and I'm like, I'm glad the Book is talking to you about this stuff, but you need to try and say so. If it's important to you, you can't dismiss your partner as not understanding if you haven't said any of this stuff you're telling this other person to
Yeah.
Stamets in the first place.
And it would have added extra weight to that scene with Book as well, because it would have been
The contrast.
you get it in a way that he doesn't, and that's
Right.
okay. That's a thing we have now as friends. We can talk about
Yeah.
this stuff.
Yeah.
You guys want to talk about Action Saru?
Let's talk about
Oh, yes,
Action
Yeah.
Saru,
Oh yes, that
because
nickname
this is
that
one of my
he's always
favorites.
had. Yes.
Commander Nan is back in the hot seat here. The Pathway Drive is the new warp engine that Starfleet
Yeah.
has developed,
Looks
and it
about the
allows
same.
them to catch up to the Breen.
Looks disappointingly similar.
It looks disappointingly similar. The Pathway
Why
Drive.
are you going
just
with
warp
this
drive.
instead of a spore drive? Exactly. It's slower. It's way slower.
Yeah.
I like
Probably
the
doesn't
pairing-
require genetic manipulation to
That's
operate.
that's the reason, is because
Is
you
that
don't
still
have to.
illegal in this time? Do we know?
I don't know.
Also, it doesn't, because Book can use it.
Yeah, but it's only Book and Stamets, I believe, who
Yeah.
can.
And all of
Yeah.
Book's people are dead as well.
Right.
Right. Conveniently. This entire planet of potential pilots wiped out.
Yep.
I like the pairing of Saru and Nan on the shuttle to Hull's fleet. Ambassador Saru finally gets his time to shine. There was a lot of talk in the last episode about going to meet to Hull, the Breen dreadnought Imperial.
Different faction.
There's like there's like 5 warlord factions, and she's
Yeah.
one of them.
Yeah. So it's a gambit, right? And like all poker players, he goes in, he makes his bluff. I gotta say, really awesome scene here. Ashley, tell us, how did you feel about the Kelpian?
This is the most badass I've ever seen Saru, and that includes episode 2 where he's doing all the physical. I'm gonna run through the jungle and all this other stuff. Uh, the fact that they have shown this prominent character who, while physically very powerful, is often a kind of a gentle giant. Him using that emotional strength, that political savvy that he has, and showing that as strong, I thought was very powerful and very effective. And I really enjoyed it. He's like, "Look me in the eye and tell me if I'm bluffing," or whatever he says. And I'm just like, "Oh damn. Oh, here we go."
I really hope this hologram's resolution is high enough for this to work.
Right. Right.
Shouldn't have sent it in 720p. Can't see a thing.
They've probably got a few more pixels
Yeah.
in the 32nd century than 720. But
I can't see. Please stand closer.
stand closer to
Too close. No, too close. Stand back a little bit.
Can you turn off your virtual background to save some bandwidth?
Right. Yeah, I thought that was really cool, and one of the most exciting parts of the episode for me is getting to see Saru in action that way. Him being Action Saru, and yes, no, I know we've never heard this name before now, but getting to see him be Action Saru in a way that is necessarily like physical action, I thought was very, very cool.
Yeah, yeah. I had goosebumps
Mm.
when Saru said, "I am a predator, and I have studied you as my prey." I said, "Oop, oop, oop. Yes, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes,
Yeah,
sir."
I like
Mm.
that.
And it also follows on from Rayner's advice about how to handle the Breen earlier in the season, where it's don't try to negotiate with them, don't show weakness. You have to go on the offensive immediately, otherwise they won't pay attention to you. And that's exactly what Saru does. He immediately
Yeah.
starts threatening.
Yeah, and using what little information like he was able to deduce based on her response to his initial to his initial pitch, turning that into against her, really clever, and the like you said, incorporating Rayner's advice, applying it in a way in the right situation. I thought this part was great. More of this. This was one of the things I felt bittersweet about is saying goodbye to Doug Jones and Saru,
Yeah.
because for me he still remains like maybe the highlight of this series.
Especially when he's hardly in this season as well. It looked like we were going to
Yeah,
get a bunch of side stories of him
I
getting to
was
grips with the region that he
I
was
was kind of hoping
assigned to.
to.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Apparently, he was away promoting Hocus Pocus 2 for a lot of the filming of this, so that's why he
Oh
was missing
no,
for much of the season.
not worth it, Doug.
Yeah.
Not worth it. Coming back to us, Doug.
Oh
Yeah.
man.
I mean, it must be, for me, it's especially sad given that it is ultimately the final season
Right.
because, I'm sure when he made that scheduling decision, they all
Yeah.
thought they were coming back, clearly.
I
Well,
mean,
for
they looked
me,
at the scripts and they were like, "Oh, well, this isn't a whole lot to work with, so I'll
yeah,
just
for me, it
hang out."
was a great opportunity to actually build out the universe of the 32nd century. Though the idea of like you have these politicians talking about the way things work, the alliances that exist, the waters you have to navigate in order to reach agreements with people. That was a prime opportunity to build that out and tell us how things actually work here. Who are the main players? Where do they stand on certain issues? Where are the Federation fit in all this? You get that through context in the older shows in ways that would work, usually in ways that were relevant to the story. But it seemed obviously if Doug Jones isn't around, there's nothing you can do about that from a practical point of view. But
Right.
it seemed like this was your chance to give us what we'd been lacking, give us this idea of how everything works, where everybody is. Because you could have set up the Breen threat through Saru far earlier, really, by
Yeah.
continuing to bring it
You
up.
can see him getting some of this information that he then uses in this conversation. Um, but, scheduling is scheduling. If he wasn't
Yeah.
available, it is
Yeah.
what it is.
Saru gets his hero moment, but another thing that we got to talk about in this episode is we finally get a little bit of a happy ending. This is what I believe was supposed to be the season finale, was the wedding. And I
That makes
personally,
sense.
yeah,
Mhm.
I personally loved going out with this for the episode, and it's a classic Star Trek like they did it in Nemesis.
Hmm.
Mm.
Yes.
Mhm.
They did it in Nemesis where they opened with it. We've had weddings before in Star Trek throughout the series. And here we are. Saru finally gets his after this long courtship with Tarina. Devin is back. Devin with the bad hair is back to present the newlyweds. We were wrong. He was a nobody this whole time.
Yeah, he was just in fact Tarina's political advisor. He wasn't jealous of Saru.
Yeah.
He just was a cranky Vulcan.
He was
It's
just
the
a
resolution to
logical
a
guy.
subplot that we never saw, I think, maybe.
Right. Yeah.
Pretty much bookends how the season opened, where they were at a cocktail party. And now here we are again at the cocktail party, following the vows being read. Just a happy, feel good scene. I don't know. Did we miss anybody in this scene? I know I, for one, missed Detmer and Owo being at the
Yeah.
wedding.
Yeah.
Yeah. Missed a whole lot of Detmer and OO this season. I don't know if that was scheduling. I'm guessing it was, or they didn't want to pay them. I mean, I truly can't think of any other explanation for why they were just gone for all of the most significant parts of the season. And
Well,
you know, they do get the, which we'll get into, but like the epilogue where she's seeing, you know, all the members of her crew from the past. Like, I'm glad they were, you know, able to make it to set for that particular goodbye scene, but otherwise it continued to be a disappointing lack of these characters.
Instead, you had
Yeah.
Asha and Naya, whoever they are.
Yes.
Yeah. Aside from Detmer and Owo being missing at the wedding, the other person I expected to see was President Rillick, and I didn't see her there. But again, I've only watched it once. I don't know if maybe she's off in the background somewhere and I just missed it because I'm like, Saru and Tarina are so adorable. Oh my gosh.
They paid for her in the previous episode, so she's not in this
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was only two episode appearance or one episode
Yeah.
appearance, whatever it was.
Which is a shame because Shella Horsdal is great. So those were the only people I noticed missing. I did like, we got some hair changes for Burnham. I like how they arranged her braids, and did a little different hairstyle. I thought that was cool. Also, Booker's rocking some cornrows. He's
yeah.
pulling it off really well. That was really cool. I enjoyed seeing his dressy get up. I really love like the incorporation. Y'all, I'm really white. If you haven't noticed, I'm really white, I'm really pale and blonde. Uh, so I'm no expert on how natural hair works, but knowing enough to know that they're incorporating a lot of specifically like
Yep.
natural African hairstyles in this, I think is a really really cool thing to see in my Star Trek.
Yeah, definitely. My wife is black, and she noticed immediately that Michael gets to portray all these different like natural hairstyles that are just so like naturally, it's beautiful and it's exciting, and it has a lot of cultural impact
Hmm.
across different cultures in Africa. So it's really you talk about representation, you talk about infinite diversity, infinite combinations, and that's what is on screen and during the wedding. It's this presentation of all these different races and cultures, and it's that celebration of that diversity that I think is so unique to Star Trek, and it always has been. And Star Trek has always portrayed it to different levels, to different degrees across the franchise. All the way, starting way back in the '60s. And it's only evolved from there. And that's always been what I think Discovery has done great in terms of like pushing the boundaries of what is represented. It really works well. And when they talk about, this is what we see the progenitors all around us. We see the result of all the work that they have done. I think it was a really special moment, and it was a nice closeout to the season story.
I wish the wedding had been a bit more about Saru and Tarina though, because it's the okay, we're married now. Enjoy the reception, and then you get Tilly's arc resolved, and then you get the Burnham and Book relationship resolved, and you don't return to Saru and Tarina at any point after that. It's just kind of a quick flyby of their moment, and then that's it. And now we need to find out how Tilly resolves her "I'm not a good teacher" maybe arc, and it is, I know, I'm going to start a mentorship program because apparently Starfleet Academy doesn't have one.
Well, they're
Yeah.
rebooting Starfleet Academy.
Yeah.
You got to
Yeah.
remember that's the
Yeah.
most important part.
Yeah, but you think you start with the stuff you had before, maybe before it got closed.
Well,
I don't know.
maybe
It
those programs were put on ice.
Yeah, it does. There is the sense of it being presented as this like revolutionary idea, and it's like, yeah, I mean, it does sound almost like something you should already have. I hope that goes well.
It sounds like something
Um,
that every teaching institution has. Really, you'd
it
think.
does sound like one of those very, again, like we're talking about these things that like, yes, that does seem like a pretty like baseline level of expectation to have.
You would think that, and yet I know so many like educational institutions where this thing just doesn't exist. If it exists, it's because an organization outside the school has implemented it. Um, so I'm glad that it exists. Also, just real quick, people showing up at the wedding. Cute, skinny, bearded guy from episode 1 showed up at the wedding. I'm assuming is Tilly's date. We still don't even know this very handsome man's name. So I want
I'm
him to show
convinced.
up in
I'm
Starfleet
convinced at this
Academy.
point she's gonna fuck Rayner. That's how that's gonna go. Based on that final scene, that's happening. If it's not already, it's gonna soon. That's what's happening after this wedding reception wraps up.
All right. Well
I
then.
mean, you saw the way he looked over. You called me crabby?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's my turn on word.
I don't even know what that word means because I'm not human.
she's looking down at her drink, being like, "No, not me, not me. We're definitely not getting naked later."
They're whisked away. Book wants to get Burnham a little private time down to the beach and professes their undying love to each other this whole time. Big surprise, guys.
Right.
You know, they've only been in this on again, off again relationship for however many years they've been stuck in the 32nd century. So, yeah, it's about time you you codified that. You put that out into the universe and maybe put a ring on that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's a conversation that should have happened long ago, and probably shouldn't have happened on a Breen ship in the middle of a undercover mission like it did last episode.
Right.
So
Right.
at least they found an appropriate time and place for the conversation this time.
No time
Right.
like the present.
Where did Saru and Tarina get married? Because it was beautiful. Like, do we like?
Italy, maybe? I really don't know.
I don't know.
It looked nice. That
Well,
sunset was great.
Yeah.
It wasn't Navarre anyway, because that place
Yeah.
would be horrible to be.
Right.
You'd be so humid.
Yeah, that's a
Unless-
desert climate.
Yeah.
Somewhere on Earth, some random planet, a holodeck.
And say
knows?
the AR wall. Who knows? But I thought it was beautiful.
That definitely looked like it was shot on location. The actual beach, though,
Right.
Hmm.
Right.
But they could be on a holodeck.
it could be on a holodeck. Dr. Kovich. We have one more scene.
Oh,
with Dr. Kovich at the end.
yes, we do.
Before
So
we're-
funny.
Yes. They get called in to see if there's one more mission, one more thing they got to do, and so Captain Burnham meets with Dr. Kovich. Ian, the reveal.
That this is actually one of Agent Daniels' many identities. Sure, fine, whatever. I mean, I had a little bit more of an issue with the collection he had behind him, which is
Thank
just
you.
like, oh, really? You have Geordie's visor in really? you just have that on your wall, you fucking weirdo. No, you
It's
don't.
super weird.
No, you don't. I mean,
An old bottle of wine and a baseball
it's
as well.
it's right, exactly, and it's.
I was looking for Janeway's coffee mug.
I was looking for a water polo ball. I mean, for God's sakes, we only ever see him interact with Archer ever, and there's representation for like a bunch of other characters, not a single thing from Archer, which I get. Look,
Maybe he doesn't like Archer.
maybe it's the dog collar, but give us something like indicate that it's the dog or that he was weird about water polo, so have it be a ball. I don't know. It was just like, oh well, there's Cisco, there's Geordi for some reason, and Picard. Just why?
Why, you weirdo collector? Like,
Yeah,
we put people like that on lists, by the way.
yeah. It's like, oh, it's interesting. You say you are really into like collecting like 20th century artifacts, and yet you just so happen to have like these artifacts from this narrow section of human history that we happen to have had multiple shows about.
Yeah, but the reveal, there was a lot of things rattling through my head before he finally said his name, because obviously they zoom in on the artifacts, and it's like,
Right.
I've had many names. I'm like, is he going to be Picard? I've always theorized that Picard might still be around because of his android body, and then I was thinking, is it Data? And then he was like, no, Agent Daniels. It's like, oh yeah, that character that absolutely everybody watching this show will know
Oh,
about
yeah.
and think,
All-
oh wow,
All
him.
5 Enterprise fans out there. I say that as a fan of Enterprise,
Yeah.
but like, it is definitely like to a greater extent than DS9 ever was the redheaded stepchild of
Yeah.
the franchise.
It's very
And
much a my name is Khan moment, isn't it? Like a lot of the audience are
Yeah.
going to be like, who?
a little bit like a lot of the audience are going to be like, huh, it feels like something I should recognize. And the ones who do are going to be like, really?
Can't Kovacs just be a mysterious guy that knows stuff? Isn't that enough? I was fine with that. I didn't need to know how he knows that stuff.
I mean, I thought he was going to leave it at "I've had many names and many lives," just to
Yeah.
have people continue to speculate.
Yeah.
But we got a solid answer, and I mean, it's fun. As far as all the fan service that happened in that scene, it was the thing I had the least trouble wrapping my head around.
Mhm.
Kovacs is just a mysterious guy that knows stuff. He doesn't need to be anything more than that.
I wasn't bothered by the reveal. I mean, there's been
Yeah.
a lot of fan speculation that Kovac is some kind of time traveler, uh,
Which he
for
is.
a while. And
Yeah.
and yes, he is. In fact, he's just also this very specific time traveler that you would know if you watched Enterprise.
The
Uh,
only time traveler, even.
right,
Yeah,
right,
pretty
right.
much.
So
Which is maybe why that is the answer, is because like, well,
Right.
we've met a time traveler in Star Trek, and his name is Daniels. So
mhm.
here
Could
he
have been
is.
Captain Braxton. That would have been equally.
Yeah, I was
esoteric.
also
Yeah.
thinking about all the temporal police in Voyager who are like,
But then, you know, you're
Janeway.
talking about even deeper cuts here. I mean, as
Right.
far as I'm concerned, like that doesn't solve the problem of no one's going to know who this guy is.
It's about as deep a cut, I think. I think it makes about the same kind of sense.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, y'all are talking about, oh, why does he have all this stuff on his wall? I was like, it's David Cronenberg. It could have been a lot worse.
True.
You know,
Yeah.
And he
could
was
have
like,
had some.
Daniels, USS Enterprise. And it's like, no, it wasn't the USS Enterprise you were on.
Mm.
Yeah.
Well, you know, he
Well,
probably
he-
does
So many
He probably
times,
was
so many
on the
places.
USS Enterprise at some point, Craig.
Yeah.
So you know,
But we first encountered him on the just Enterprise.
I know. But I'm saying he's a time travel. He can jump in where he wants.
The epilogue. I honestly loved everything about it. I loved everything about it. There's not one thing I would have changed, other than that, you know, maybe another couple of minutes would have been nice of just knowing that's the end. It's like, oh man, Admiral Burnham with a time skip looks great, silver in her hair, uniform. Tell me you guys didn't see the monster maroon look.
That's the only
Yeah.
time I've ever liked the Monster Maroon. Just for the record.
Incorrect opinion, but yeah, we
Oh,
do.
it's fine.
we
Wow.
do like
Woo.
the. I like the updated maroon dress uniform.
No, look sharp. I'm just not a. I don't know. That was my maroon was my school. Actually, garnet was the
Oh.
school color for my my undergrad, and I was just like, it's not that big of a deal, y'all. But they're like, I was like, maroon, no, garnet. Anyway, I know it's not my favorite color, but I think Sonequa pulls it off. So
I wonder if
I-
they actually made a uniform or whether it was just a CGI replacement thing.
That looked real. That was
Yeah,
definitely real.
not sure.
Yeah.
I
But
like that
I-
you can change clothes by smacking your comm badge.
That's pretty sweet.
Well, it's all
Uh,
magic, isn't it? You can do anything by smacking your comm badge.
Yeah, it does reach a point where it's like, okay, what can't this thing? It's apparently a replicator too, unless this is a projection, in which case everyone's just walking around naked. Which it's the 32nd century. I don't have a problem doing that today. So like, I'm all for it. That's fine.
Maybe
But
you
it
just
does
have your
make
wardrobe stored in a buffer.
but it does make you wonder.
Yeah.
Well, I also like, one tap to change clothes and then do double tap to teleport or to energize onto the shuttle. So I don't know. I found that amusing.
Yeah.
It's just magic. We're not supposed to figure
Mhm.
it out.
When the scene opened up at the cabin and we didn't know who was in the bed yet, what was going through your guys' heads? Craig, let's start with you.
I was a little bit confused, as we're supposed to be, and the way I worked out it was Burnham almost immediately, but I liked the way that
Yeah.
they did the getting out of bed thing. It was very much it feels like an older person getting out of bed. It's like there was a bit of a slower movement there, so I was like, okay, right, we're sometime in the future now, okay, and then it just kept going from there. We saw Book appear. It's like, okay, the relationship has endured. They're comfortable. They're happy. That's good. And then Burnham's off to do something. That's cool as well. And oh look, here's their son. Oh, wow, that's a
Mm.
thing.
Yeah.
So again, another example of the relationship enduring.
Yeah, I liked all the stuff at the cabin. I thought, yeah, to Craig's point, Sonequa Martin Green does a great job of selling aging up. I think the makeup job that they do is really good. It doesn't always hold up, especially in this era of like HD and 4K
Yeah.
TV. But I thought the makeup effect was good. I'm glad that these characters got their happy ending. It was a nice couple of scenes with their son, and I think honestly, in terms of the epilogue and getting to see some of these characters again, I think the only thing we're really missing is a proper goodbye. I know we kind of get that, which we'll talk about in a moment, but a proper goodbye update. Like I wanted to see some of these characters 20 years later, and I know that they couldn't do that because they had to just do what they could with the time that they had to wrap things up for the series. But I was missing a visual check-in with a few
Yeah.
more of the characters, and even a reference to a few more of the, like I know they made a reference to Tilly, but that's basically it.
Yeah.
I just felt like as far as a series wrap up, other than that moment we get in Burnham's mind where she's saying goodbye to everyone and reminiscing, I would have liked a more comprehensive epilogue for the whole crew.
I'm guessing it was about 30 odd years later, judging by the fact that their son's a captain. That would take a while.
Right.
Yeah.
Ashley, how did you feel about this epilogue at the cabin?
I really loved their house. I thought it was really beautiful. That kind of like dark wood and stuff is all like my aesthetic. I love that wherever they're at is just it looks like fall, and that makes me really happy. Honestly, I have to wonder like is this a real place or is this the AR wall? I don't think it was the AR wall. I could be wrong, but
They probably
uh
filmed in an actual forest and just changed all the colors in post.
Yeah, I
yeah,
think they color
yeah.
graded it, but it's real.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm sure it was color graded, but I feel that set felt real, and I really liked that. Honestly, it kind of reminded me of some of my hometown where I grew up outside of the Great Smoky Mountains, and so I was like, oh, where's this beautiful mountain house? Where they live. So I want to go there, please and thank you. Uh, I really enjoyed seeing them together and seeing yes we have learned to communicate well, we have learned to uh, be good partners and to make this relationship last, and I thought that was really beautiful and really sweet, and just to see that kind of really wholesome relationship was just really touching to me. I thought that was really beautiful. uh, and I like how they aged up Booker. I like the white in his whiskers and the white in his
What?
yeah. I thought he looked good. I was like,
Silver
Yeah.
Fox, baby, Silver
yeah,
Fox.
Mhm.
man,
Yeah, I think they
goodness,
both aged up well.
yeah, yeah. I thought they both looked great. I it took me a second to catch their son's name, but it's Leto. I
Yeah,
couldn't help
Lilo.
but think
Yeah.
about Dune with
Yeah.
that. But that's that's neither here nor there. But wasn't Leto his that was Book's nephew's name?
I
Oh,
think you might be right. I have
Yeah,
forgotten.
yeah. I
Yeah,
I
I'd
had
also forgotten.
forgotten that
Yeah.
until just now. But yes, Leto was Book's nephew's name.
Played by Sawandi Wilson,
Yeah,
their son, which
yeah.
there's one scene.
I would believe him as their son. Could see
Yeah.
that.
Based on the limited time he had, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's like yeah.
Probably never see him again.
Yeah, I did a good job though.
Might be well, depending on how far ahead they jump for the Starfleet Academy.
I
Like,
like that they showed Burnham doing something at the cabin, not just like drinking coffee and enjoying, but going out and putting up that barrier on the fence and actually picking up the
mhm,
piece of wood, putting it in place. Not a very well treated piece of wood, it looked like. I
mhm.
would not
Yeah.
personally use that to finish off a fence. It looks very flimsy, but great for firewood. I don't know if you guys caught this, but she named the deer Alice.
Yeah.
And Discovery has always had this flirtation, this inspiration with Alice in Wonderland going down the rabbit hole. And it was a nice nod to that thematic element that they brought in.
They haven't done that in a while with Burnham. They did it very heavily in season one and then
Yeah.
almost
Yeah.
never since.
Yeah, that's a really good catch, Mike. I did not think about that. I did notice, oh, Alice, that's interesting, and it didn't process with me. Oh, that's because Amanda read Alice in Wonderland to Spock and Burnham.
Yep.
Yeah, that's
Yep.
great.
Yep. And then we have the beam out to the shuttle, and we have a nice little family moment between Burnham and her son. He's looking for meaning. He's looking for purpose. He's looking for this. He keeps thinking about the speech he's going to give to his new crew as a new captain. So he's looking for some inspiration, and he's talking to his mom about it. And I thought, in classic Star Trek fashion, they leave it with a very simple kind of a lesson. Burnham says, "Life itself." That's the name of the episode. Is meaning enough? How we choose to spend the time that we have, who we spend it with. And I think that's a great series finale quote to bring in for this series. For all of its ups and downs, Discovery has been a lot of fun and has brought some great people together. It's been great. Like I've watched every episode with my wife, so it's something that we've gotten to enjoy. I know a lot of people have experienced it as their first Star Trek, so I like that that's the lesson that they're going out on.
I like the quote where she said, "Those pips can bring pressure, but they're supposed to." It's a very realistic lesson to tell someone, even though he's probably been a commander and a first officer up to this point, so should already know this. You shouldn't be walking into the job of a captain not expecting pressure. But even accounting for that, it's a good,
Yeah.
motherly piece of advice.
I agree.
Well, and I think sometimes it's easy to think before you are, taking on a leadership position that those in leadership just know what to do.
Yeah.
And
Because-
that's not the case. Like,
Well, that's certainly not the case at my work most of the time. Yes.
well, in a well functioning organization, one would assume that those in leadership would know what to do.
Yeah.
But
But how many Badmirals have we seen over the
Right.
decades of Star Trek
Yeah.
storytelling? So
Not in the 32nd century, though.
no bad
That's all 'cause
morals.
we've only
Only
seen one Admiral.
Zadmirals. Only Zadmirals so far. So
Yeah, we've only seen one. He's the only one that knows what he's doing, or maybe he's the only
No.
Admiral.
We also had the female admiral who went unnamed, who very pointedly had to remind the Federation president that she could not go on the shuttle to meet with the Hull.
mhm,
Oh yeah,
It had to be Saru.
mhm, mhm.
Action Saru.
It's two then.
One final mission here, guys. The last dance, if you will. Ashley, what do you think about this?
A bit bittersweet because this is intended to be the connection with the Callisto short trek or Calypso, excuse me. I don't remember which it's called. It's been a minute.
It is
since I've watched
definitely
it.
one of those two.
Yeah, yeah.
I was
but,
going to guess Calypso, but I think Callisto could be right. Who knows?
It is Calypso. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's Calypso. Callisto is from the X-Men. I recorded about X-Men 97 this morning, so that's on the brain. But anyway, so we get this connection with Calypso, and it made me sad to leave Zora out there and then it made me realize, oh wait, Zora really is part of the crew, and we have to say bye to Zora too. That really connected with me. Uh, I feel like in a lot of ways, Michael, while an admiral, still would really like to be in the captain's chair. And, it's fitting that she gets to send Discovery off to whatever red directive that it needs to go to. So I was glad that she got to be the one to do that.
Yeah, I have thoughts.
I'd love to hear
It
them.
did
I
not
had a
work for
specific
me
question.
at all. So
Had a feeling.
right, okay. So basically, we're going to do this because Kovic told us to. Turns out Kovic has seen this short film, and we need to tie up the continuity. I don't think anybody was really expecting them to link this to that short, and then just like with the Daniels thing, there'll probably be a significant chunk of the audience that haven't seen it, so there'll probably be a confusion in that respect as well. But it doesn't make sense that they would restore Discovery to its original configuration, put that work in, and then abandon a sentient being in deep space to wait around for some reason.
She's
And
got a mission.
yeah, but what is that mission? Because all that happens
Apparently,
is
it's waiting in that region of space for 900 years.
yeah, but all that happens is that Kraft turns up, they fall in love, he leaves, and Zora's still left on her own.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
yeah, so none of that made any sense to me. I don't think we needed to tie up to that continuity nod because it seemed like people had accepted the fact that it's just a thing. It's just it doesn't
I
have to be
thought
canon.
that they had already resolved it in episode 4 when Burnham and Raynor were jumping around. I thought it was done, and we avoided that future, so there was no need for
Yeah.
Discovery to go do that.
Plus, that short was made before they planned to send Discovery into the future as well. It was made between season 1 and 2. So it was just made as a thing. And I know that they've linked up at least one of the other ones, because you had Tilly meet, what was her name from that,
Oh yeah,
that queen or whatever she was. But then when she's introduced, it's okay, they know each other somehow, and you don't really need to know how that happened. But you know, they haven't linked up like Ephraim and Dot or anything like that. You know, so and the other ones were set on the Enterprise, so it was just something that happened, you know, on the Enterprise and stuff. So I didn't understand this as a way to go out for the show, and they just explained it by, oh yeah, Kovic said so. It's a mystery thing. It's we don't need to know why this is happening. It's, if I were Zora, I'd be like, no, you're abandoning me for however long.
It also
know.
raises it raises the question, of course, but doesn't answer it, of like, you know, when Michael walks onto the bridge, like, it's clearly not been in use for a while. Like, what's been going? Has Zora just been sitting like
all along.
trapped?
Yeah,
like a sentient being on this. Like, what on earth? Like, if you're going to decommission the ship, transfer her to another ship, or
Yes.
or crew the ship with holograms or AI. Let her do whatever the fuck she wants. If you're not going to use it
Yeah.
anymore, who cares?
I do
Weird.
wonder if, as an AI, she would never get like lonely, but it has been established she gets lonely. You know, she previously.
And also, like, we're not going to address the fact that like Stamets clearly has to be on that ship for it to jump, right?
It is mentioned that there is a crew.
I know she says that. Is there any evidence of a crew?
No. Well, the fact that they jump, I guess, is evidence of a crew.
Well, right, but that's the thing. Like, she's the only one who walks on the bridge.
Yeah, we just don't see them.
It just seems right. It just seemed like
you couldn't have older Stamets wander onto the bridge saying, "Well, I've fixed the spore drive. We're ready to go."
Well, it was one of those things where it's an example of like, okay, clearly this member of the regular cast would have to be brought back in if they were actually going to film him doing some sort of, and they clearly either schedule wise or budget wise or whatever didn't want to or couldn't find out a way to do that. But it raises the question in your head of like, wait a minute, this is our goodbye, and we know that there is a member of our crew that has to be on this ship. He's the only one besides Book who didn't come, who can jump it. So it just, in my mind, it was like, we're not going to. Okay, fine, whatever.
Could have been a voiceover as well.
Right, right. Like, it would have been cool for her to give the order to Stamets one last time and hear that. Like, anything other than the 0 on that front would have been.
Or
to
you've
me
already
an
got David
improvement.
Ajala there, so just bring him. Just bring
Right.
Book.
He didn't have to stay behind. He could have been anyway. We're we're spinning our wheels over like ways they could have made this particular like decision at the last minute a little bit better.
It does undercut the end of the show, really, in the way that, because it just raises those questions of, well, why are you doing this? Because, like I said, there'll be a bunch of the audience that won't have seen that short and be wondering
does
what
feel
the hell's
like
going
it's
on.
you know what it feels. I mean, it had the energy of except for her mindscape reunion with everyone, but the mission had like the energy of like a post-credit scene, like something that was just for the nerds who've been wondering what the connection to that episode Calypso was going to be, and we like put it in at the very end as a post-credit scene to give you that little bit of narrative closure for any of the like the 2 people out there who really still like cared or were looking for it. It's there for you. But instead it was presented with this sort of weight and import that felt a little out of sync with like all the genuinely like lovely and moving stuff that we had just gotten with Burnham and her family in the lead up to it. Like that all felt like genuine earned emotional closure, and this felt a little bit too fan servicey
Yeah.
on some level.
And
And
Well,
again, I'm not
I think,
including Michael's goodbye with everyone in
yeah,
that. I know that's kind of framed within this piece, but just the mission itself to me was like, okay, that's
yeah.
you're trying to be a little cute, and I'm not really buying it.
When Burnham said, "There she is," I thought that we were going to see what Leto's ship was going to be, and maybe it's the Discovery B or something like
mhm.
that. Maybe
I was
it's
I was prepared
yeah,
for her to be taking him to like his new ship and have it be the
yeah.
new iteration of the Discovery or something like
And
that.
maybe Zora's been transferred to the Discovery B or something. I don't know.
Yeah, who knows?
Yeah.
But nope, to space for 900 years with her.
Yeah.
For some
Yeah.
reason, yeah, because Kovic was catching up on short treks, and he couldn't
And
let this thread
decided we
linger.
had to close the
Yeah,
loop. Yeah.
Mhm. That's all of that's fair, and it's stuff that definitely crossed my mind. I think more than anything, they wanted to have Michael on the bridge for her to have this memory mindscape of her telling everyone goodbye, and that feels like a way to make that happen. Though I think you could have made it happen in other ways, but because I'm not real keen on leaving Zora out there for forever.
yeah,
So,
There's
but
also there's also this sentiment, that's always been held across so many cultures and in so many franchises, where the ship is a hero in and of itself.
mhm.
And I love that, Michael wanted to come back for that one last goodbye and to be the one to say goodbye for the final time.
yeah,
But it's like, where have you been for 30 years? If your hero ship that you spent all this time in and served this incredible career, we see it in space dock having the A removed and being restored to its original configuration, except Sora still installed, then it raises so many questions on that front. I love the idea of going back to say goodbye to the hero ship as you
hmm,
leave. It's just as much of a character as any other human speaking, alien speaking, whatever character on the show. And yeah, to just drop her off in deep space feels pretty unceremonious.
yeah. And Zora personified that idea of the ship being a character within itself because it was literally she was a
Precisely.
character. But couldn't
Hmm.
Burnham be taking Discovery at the Fleet Museum? And it's Zora's going to have a great time sharing all the stories with anybody that visits Discovery for the next however long, instead of, yeah, we're going to leave it in deep space until the systems just gradually fail over time.
Yeah. Um, a bit of a strange decision.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
very.
And it does beg the question, if Michelle Paradise and the producer team and the writer team, they wanted to make the connection to Daniels from Enterprise, and they went and they found that fan theory, and they decided, yeah, we're going to do that. It's like, well, you know what fans want, you know what fans are talking about, which then, going back to our last week's conversation that Ian and I had, where it's like, they could get a lot of easy wins just by making a few different choices that wouldn't have an effect on overall storyline or budget, but it would just make the fans happy to see. Then why couldn't they do that too? So
Yeah.
again, I will say it's a little weird of this of Michelle Paradise. I'm just gonna name her because she's a showrunner. That's her job. Um, to leave certain things out and to make decisions like sending Discovery off. Yeah, it's great that she had an amazing send off, and we had all the shuttles in line and all the other starships, in a line saluting Discovery on her last journey.
And we didn't need to tie up to the Calypso thing. I don't think anybody was really
Nah,
worrying
we didn't
about
need to do that.
that.
But I do like that we went back to say goodbye.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I think the idea of saying goodbye to the ship is a good one in theory.
Yeah.
yeah. But putting it in the Fleet Museum would have been more appropriate, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm glad that we got, the in her mind at least this last goodbye, which must have been them literally just being like, "Hey, everyone who's still in the
Are
area,
you in
like,
Toronto?
come on in.
Get down to the stage now.
Yeah.
Hope you stayed in shape. That costume's got to fit real quick. Come on."
The
Even
Titanic
Rainer
moment,
was there,
as I
which I
called it.
I liked. You know,
The Titanic moment, as I called it.
Yes, very
Even though Burnham's not
reminiscent.
dead.
Mhm.
We had a extra long episode as our series finale here. Any final thoughts? Anything we missed? Anything that we did not discuss in this episode? Or any themes that we wanted to connect to? Or small tidbits, Easter eggs?
The memory mindscape is where I finally shed a few tears, and I was holding it together, and then she hugs Tilly. I was like, this is my girls.
Yeah.
It's my Star Trek besties. It's Michael and Tilly, and um, I think for me, their friendship is really something special. And I'm crying again. Their friendship is really something special, and the big reason I love Discovery
Mm.
is their relationship. I identify with both of them in different ways, and I'm sorry to see them go.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do like that the show ended on its own terms and stayed true to itself. It started with Burnham, and it's always been a very sentimentally, emotionally driven show, and it was like that until the end. So you start with Burnham, you end with Burnham, and the sentimentality never leaves. So, despite all the reboots that Discovery's had over the years, and let's face it, it's had a couple, it has always stuck with that at least. So it always felt like the same show, even though the surroundings were radically changing as it was going on.
Sure.
So I like that. So yeah, it was for our epilogue. We'll just bring back these two actors, and that'll do us.
Okay, so that resolves our coverage for the season and series finale of Star Trek Discovery. Ian, we should come back and talk about other things in like the search for Spock, maybe.
Yeah, it's having its 40th anniversary this year, so I think it's as good an opportunity as any to talk about that sometime soon.
Definitely, definitely. And Craig, Star Trek Prodigy season 2 will be coming to Netflix in some fashion of time. We don't know
Do
when.
we don't know when yet, right?
No,
Right.
it is available on some French streaming service though.
Right, because it did, like, they finished it, like it's
Yeah.
done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not in English apparently on this French streaming service. So unless you can speak French, there's no real point in engaging with it.
I don't think anyone speaks French.
No, not even in
French
France.
people speak French.
They shouldn't. Best avoided.
Oh, dear.
And Ashley, we're still going to be covering Strange New Worlds.
Yeah. I'm really looking forward to Strange New Worlds and what may come. I was observing Jess Bush's Instagram yesterday or this morning, and looks like they wrapped on season 3 about 2 days ago at the time
Oh,
of
yeah.
recording. So
Yeah, Anson Mount said that as well.
yeah, so I'm looking forward to whatever they've got cooked up. Apparently, they've got a lot of stuff. They have boldly went where things have not gone before. So
We can only
Okay.
hope.
yeah, we can only hope they are actually exploring some strange new worlds. So
Well, they went to a strange new world this season of Discovery, so maybe they've got the bug.
yes. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Also, apparently, Melissa Navia, Jess Bush, Celia Rose Gooding, and Christina Chong are all in a girl group now. They have a single coming out called
Mhm.
Space Girls. I'm
Oh.
really excited about that.
Nice.
So
That'll be a lot of fun.
yeah, maybe we'll do a special bonus episode where I fangirl about the Space Girls.
The Space Girls. Okay. I mean, this is great. The podcast is still here. We're still covering Star Trek. We are sad to say goodbye to Discovery, but we will return in the future to maybe do some retrospectives on it and see what else we can talk about. I
Nobody's
will
sending
be-
us out into the middle of nowhere to wait for something and not telling
Right.
us what it is.
Right.
Nope.
I will be
Just
interested
waiting for release dates.
to come back to like season 1 and watch it, knowing where it ends. I do like doing that with TV shows, but I
Hmm.
also have to wonder if like because of that reboot button they always hit, if it will actually, if the seasons overall will be truly distinct from each other, or if there will be, some kind of sentimental tie-in to everything. that
You'll
I
be
would
watching
love to see.
3 different shows stylistically, certainly.
Does
But
feel
yeah,
Yeah.
I think the through line of Burnham will maybe be enough. But yeah,
Yeah.
it takes 3 years for this show to become what it is now, which is consistent for Star Trek, to be fair.
That is fair.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah, the identity crisis, though, I think for Discovery, I mean, they were not set up for success as much
No.
as they could have been
Yeah,
with
right from
the
the get-go.
the pre-production chaos that they went through. I mean, I was just re-listening to a Star Trek podcast, an older episode from several years ago. They were talking about how production for Discovery was about to start shortly, and they still didn't have their showrunners yet. And like eventually they did, but it was just not typically how these shows get developed and produced. And honestly, the fact they were able to still get 5 seasons out of all that initial chaos speaks to the strength of the franchise
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
Because it
As disappointing as it
started
can
with
be to see
Brian
it
Fuller as your
go.
showrunner, and the tardigrade was supposed to be a crew member. There was no spore drive. It
Yep.
was a different show.
Yeah, he wanted
Totally
it to be an anthology show, which
Yeah.
ironically it ended up kind of being. I mean,
Kind of.
we certainly did have the show take place in different eras, and each season had its own distinct, not just plot, but kind of flavor to it in terms
Mm.
of the thematic ground that they wanted to explore. And that is much more kind of in line with the feel of an anthology show. They just couldn't let go of hanging on to one particular crew led by one particular person. They didn't want to hit the reset button literally each time.
It's also important to remember, like, historically speaking, it wasn't Paramount when Discovery first started. It was still
Right.
CBS. So
Yeah.
CBS was trying to compete. They developed CBS All Access, and Star Trek Discovery was the tentpole for launching CBS All Access. So their whole strategy was hell bent on just getting subscribers to compete in the streaming wars. So that's all the historical background. But, we did get Discovery. We got Picard. Picard never would have gotten greenlit if Discovery did not get butts in the seats for subscribers on CBS All Access.
Yep.
And once the merger with Paramount with Viacom happened, and Paramount Plus became the new product that we are now all currently use, then it was they needed more content. They needed more shows in the bucket to get people to remain subscribed. So then we got Strange New Worlds, Lower Decks, and Starfleet Academy is underway. We're getting the Section 31 movie.
We had
So
Prodigy for a season, RIP.
Prodigy for a season. Yeah, yeah. It's so the gambit worked, if you will. The Discovery gambit worked. And as much as any hater out there would like to say otherwise, nope.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly worked for a while.
Yeah.
I think the financial realities of the entertainment industry, the streaming industry, all of that is outside of the control of the creatives behind
Yep.
these different shows. But unfortunately, Star Trek is going to now have to find a way to survive through the contraction that we're going to see
Yeah.
in the market. I mean, people just aren't buying the streaming, all these different streaming services anymore, and they're all
Too
bleeding
expensive.
money. And yeah, and these are high budget original shows, yes, based on IP, but they have to cast and staff and write and do VFX, and these shows are not cheap to produce. They don't look cheap. So yeah, it's going to be lean times for Star Trek for a while, but there's no denying that like Discovery was like the tip of the spear of like this
Mhm.
new era, and for better or worse, like it definitely deserves credit for that.
Yeah. It brought the franchise back when it was dead. So, yeah.
All right, folks, I'm going to take us out here. Ashley, Craig, Ian, thank you so much for taking the time on this beautiful Saturday. Craig, it might not be beautiful where you are, but suffice to say, the U.S. is experiencing a
Beautiful
surprisingly
weekend.
rare, nice weekend. So,
It's raining currently, and it's also 11:30 at night.
ladies and gentlemen, my name is Mike Slamer. You have been listening to We Are Starfleet at Starfleet Pod on all your social medias. We are now part of the Film Stories network of podcasts. So make sure you check out filmstories.co.uk for more film stories, stuff. With that said, Discovery isn't all we're talking about. Stay tuned for more Star Trek content coming to a podcast player near you. All right, folks, one last time. Let's fly.